Once again, the What It Takes Radio Company presents another adventure, maybe just an episode, maybe just an interesting idea from the Interesting Ideas podcast. And today, what does it mean to say that something is God awful? Does that mean that there could be something that is also God awesome? Well, let me introduce you to the days of awe on this Sunday afternoon. Greetings once again on a Sunday afternoon. This is Stan, and I wish that on this Sunday afternoon that I could invite you into, as you see, my rather awesome, a real awesome library. Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it beautiful? Wouldn't it be nice if it were real? But of course, it's not. Again, as we're always learning about this medium that we're now in, this is certainly just fake. It's not real at all. But it's very nice, and maybe will encourage my imagination that someday again, if I could actually have a library, that it would be something like this. But it makes me feel nice and, ready to perhaps talk about something that is awesome. However, unfortunately, here in North Carolina, where we're at, is a number of our friends, and it's I'm not in our particular area, but many people in North Carolina are having some god awful times as the floods have struck, and particularly the western part of North Carolina. And we're getting reports not only of people who've perished as a result, but the floods have from the hurricane have really devastated many parts, particularly of the western town of Asheville and around that area. A very lovely arena part of the mountains of North Carolina. I've been there. It's a beautiful place, and now many people have lost everything. And this has been a particularly god awful hurricane as the destruction is rampant. So our thoughts and prayers and again, gratitude that we're okay and we're safe and wish we could share that kind of goodness with others. The expression, however, that of course I used, God awful, where'd that come from? We don't think of God doing awful things. And so that was a rather interesting expression. So I did a little bit of research and work on it. And it has been somehow, maybe when God is really mad, he can do some God awful things. Well, that's not necessarily the God that I worship or believe in at all. But obviously, awful things can happen, even to people who love God and serve Him. Yes, it is indeed a mystery, you know. Grace is amazing. Mercy can hardly be fully understood. Why do good things happen to bad people, and why do bad things happen to good people? Um, my wife and I were just watching a very tough and mean and nasty Western that has come out on Netflix, and it's simply called Godless. And it was very striking, but it was about just exactly that. People living in a place where they wondered, where has God gone? It seems like godless things were happening and godless people were doing bad things. And how can you survive in that kind of a experience and environment? So that is the challenge. Where in the world did the term God awful come from? And how and when should it, if ever, be used? However, I have asked, and I mentioned it just last week on Thursday, a challenge that I would particularly like you perhaps to help me with. Because we use the word awful and then we use the word awesome. Yeah. The opposite of awful is awesome. A God awesome thing. Wow, a God awesome deal that came our way. You see, we're coming to the new year in which the folks, particularly in the Jewish tradition, and I have adopted this idea that we really celebrate and begin our new year now in the Jewish New Year of Rosh Hashanah. which will be coming next week. That's right. Uh, the Rosh Hashanah on October 3rd. And then there are the days between Rosh Hashanah, the new year, and then the holiest of Jewish traditions and holidays, Yom Kippur, which occurs 10 days later. And of course, the days between are days where as someone said, it's kind of like a old-fashioned Jewish wedding. It goes on for more than once or 2 or 3 days sometimes. And the days of awe are those times where we're to think and reflect and prepare ourselves for the new year. And what I would like to do is to take those days of awe and particularly come up with perhaps an awesome idea. That doesn't mean it's big and powerful and great, but something that would encourage us that as we go into the new year, this challenging new year, it's going to be a challenging year. In the United States, not only do we have the election challenges before us, but just the daily and weekly and monthly and yearly challenges that all of us in the experience of being human right now are going through. And could we use perhaps the days of awe as a time out to do our work, but at least take time to reflect on some things that are some awesome ideas? They will help us actually appreciate the days of awe. Some simple but powerful, awesome ideas. And what I've simply asked those of you to do is, if you have one you'd like to share, I've asked a couple people, and I'm asking you, maybe you'd like to share an awesome idea. Maybe you would like to actually even do a video, a YouTube conversation where you could be like me talking to you on the podcast video, or at least on the audio video as we go through the days of awe. So I would ask you to think about that. I would love to hear from you. And we'll arrange for you to have your maybe 5, 7, 10 minutes, no more than that, in which we have an awesome idea to help us prepare for the challenging new year during what is celebrated as the days of awe. Starting this week, and of course, part of the irony of the whole thing is right in the middle of the days of awe is the day 10/7. And that'll be the first anniversary of the terrible, more than god-awful massacre that occurred to the people of Israel in the Hamas terrorist attack. And then, of course, yes, and then the results of that have led to god-awful death and destruction and bad things for everybody involved. And maybe it's going to get even worse during the days of awe. We need to be people of faith and courage, and perhaps have some awesome things to depend on and to actually discover what it might be like to be a man or woman of great faith, power, and courage, and be able to look at the year ahead with a sense of awe for some awesome opportunities. Perhaps together we can do that, and perhaps you could reach out to me at stanhouston@gmail.com, and you'd like to audition. Raise your hand and say, Stan, I think I have an idea. Run it by me. And if it will work for our presentation to go around the world, maybe we can make that happen. Again, stanhouston@gmail.com. And whatever, please think very seriously about taking some time, whether you are Jewish or not, or whatever, to remember maybe it is time to take a New Year's challenge and be ready to do some things that'll be truly awesome, originating very much in the days of awe. Take care. All the best for your week and for the days of awe. Till next time, I'm Stan. Bye for now.